Hey guys, how are you? Hope you all doing well. This is Paria from Magical Lords. If you don't know about Magical Lords, you can go to my link tree and read about us on our Medium, so don't miss it. We are here with the third episode of our spaces. We are going to interview a very nice collector artist today, but before we get to that, I have to tell you, unfortunately, due to some technical issues, I couldn't actually record the last space. So yeah, we don't have any video with Ruhi Jalan from India. But a good news is that I just wrote a newsletter about our interview, so you can just go to my Twitter and subscribe for my newsletter and read our interview and enjoy it. So you can just also go on with that. By the way, English is not my first language, so please bear with me. And we are going to have a wonderful space with Uzzi from UK. So be with me to the end. Okay, anyway, let's say hi in another way. I'm so proud that you're here and thank you for accepting to join us. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. I know that you're so busy, but thank you for accepting. And we are here to listen to you and listen to your story actually for the first question.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure to be invited. It is always nice to meet fresh people and share ideas and talk to everyone. I mean, I'm not sure how much experience everyone here in the panel has, but I mean, obviously, with myself, I started NFTs in March 2021, so it's over a year now. And to be honest, it feels like a lot longer than that. It feels like I've been here now 10 years or something because a year here, it's just so busy and so much things going on. It can get quite hectic. But I mean, to start off, how long have you guys been here just to get an idea so I can probably get a better idea how to explain what's been going on in my sort of experience?
Uh, I want actually to know about when did you start your art and knowing about your actually art journey, and after that we can just jump into NFT as you know. Yeah, I just want to know more about that.
Sure. Well, with the art journey for myself, obviously, when I was younger, I did do art in school. And I did that till about high school, so that'd be 12 standard in other countries. But when I went into college, I kind of had two options, and it was drama and art. And I took drama in the end because I felt I could express myself a lot more doing drama, and I did like the physical side of acting out things. So I did that for a number of year or two on that, and then I got my qualifications from that. And to be honest, I didn't touch art for some time until I'd say about 2009 is when I started to do photo editing. So we all started off doing photography in 2009. And slowly, I started doing sort of edits. Very simple edits is what I started with. It was just, normal things, changing backgrounds, colors, etc. And as time went, I started feeling like I wanted to get a bit more creative. So during that time, I started doing a bit of like surreal art. And most of the time it's Photoshop and not even Photoshop, to be honest. Surprising enough, I used to use a lot of mobile phone apps to do my editing, and the results used to be quite good. A lot of people used to think I was doing it on Photoshop, but Photoshop can be very expensive, as I'm sure you know. And at that time, I just couldn't afford it, so I just started doing a lot of edits on mobile phones. And then I started posting it on Flickr. I don't know if you remember what Flickr is, but it's a website where a lot of photographers used to put their photos on, and I think it was powered by Yahoo at that time. And yeah, I just enjoyed posting pictures, getting people's feedbacks, and the more feedback I got, it got me more interested, and I started seeing other people's work, and I just, it gave me a lot more creative ideas. So I explored that, and then came Instagram, and then when Instagram came, I started posting my art on Instagram. That's probably a lot later on, and so that was quite interesting. I managed to meet a lot more artists, find a lot more artists that had similar sort of interest in art. So I did that for a few years, and from that came the NFTs, and that was like I said, March 2001 is when I started doing NFTs, and I mean I had no idea about NFTs. I was given a DM message on Instagram by someone completely random that was probably just trying to sign me up to one of their affiliated programs. Um, but it made me start thinking, what is NFTs? And then I saw the big news when Beeple sold his art for, let's just say, a lot of money. And I was saying, well, I've got to see what this NFT business is all about. So I started looking into NFTs. And trust me, it was the most complicated thing. I had no idea what a blockchain was. I had no idea what minting was. So I had to start from scratch. I made mistakes along. And to be honest, the only way around it and the way I learned and found out is Twitter itself. There's a great community already there. Some have been there probably a year before I started, and I just started mingling, asking questions, and a lot of these spaces really helped me a lot. I mean, obviously, I don't have as much time now going on spaces, but at my earliest journey, I went on a lot of spaces. There was obviously Freaks, NFT Freaks, and there was a few others, and that's where I kind of started gaining a bit of knowledge. And then I thought, well, let me create like a wallet. So I got my MetaMask wallet. Once I created that, I learned all about seed phrases and all that, how to keep them safe. And after that, my first sort of time I started posting NFTs was on OpenSea. Obviously, it's a sort of a lazy minting site where you mint, but it's not sort of like minted to an extent. You still have to pay the gas when someone purchases, but it was a good starting point. Obviously, gas was a lot more expensive at that time when I started at the peak of March. Um, some of us were minting for 50, 60 to 100 to £200 just for the mint price. But I managed to get a few pieces of art on there. And I think after about 2 months, I think it took me about 2 months until I got my first sort of sale on there. And it was actually someone that went through my Instagram profile and then contacted me through DM and asked and said, look, there's a piece of art you've got on there. You haven't minted it. Um, would you be happy to mint that? Because I really want it for my son. And it was like an astronaut sort of art picture, and it had a great meaning to this collector. And it was quite special because he's got a little son, and I think the father works in sort of like in the space sort of side of things and space and science. And he really wanted something that sort of signifies his relationship with his son. And that's how it all sort of started. So, I mean, it was really nice to sort of make that first connection with the collector. And although I don't sort of hear from the collector much, he's not so active now, but now and then we do sort of chat when we do find time. And, that's how it sort of started for me. And during probably the space of another 2 months, I probably made another six, seven, eight, nine sales. And it just continued from there. And it was the peak time, so it was very, very. It was just NFTs were hot, and it was just doing really well. And that's how I sort of started engaging a lot on Twitter, making the community really around me. And hence, I mean, that's how I sort of started getting my follower base. Really, I think it's more about being at the right place at the right time. So when I started, it was just starting to boom, and like you started getting loads of followers following you that were just coming in. So if you started a week earlier, you had an advantage from someone that started just 2 weeks after you. Yeah, I mean that's in a nutshell, I guess, my sort of NFT journey so far.
Okay, I see. I just came with my personal actually account because I just had the fear to getting right. So yeah, I'm here with this account. By the way, it was an interesting story, and we have a lot to talk after this story that you just started it. What is your inspiration for your art?
So inspiration wise, I mean, my sort of method of how I sort of start creating, I guess it's everything really, all the experiences around me. So watching movies, I'm a big movie fan. I do watch a lot of movies, sci-fi movies, and I just explore different ideas, but naturally it's what comes to me really. Sometimes it could be a dream, sometimes it could be just a thought. But most of the time, I'm combining different ideas and trying to make something a bit more original and different. I was not one that liked to sort of. So some people for practice would copy another person's piece of art, but that just didn't interest me really. I just didn't get any joy out of it. I like to combine different ideas to make something new. So I guess that's kind of like my inspiration side of things, and obviously Instagram, just going through feeds and following certain accounts used to always help a lot. And a lot of artists used to do surreal sort of art, which used to interest me a lot. And that's how I used to sort of get my inspiration.
I just asked that because I see a lot of artists these days. They are just going for getting some information about trends, and they want to make some pieces for the trend. And when the trend just changing, they want to change their style. Yeah, that's why I just ask that about from you, and I want your opinion about trends and changing your styles because sometimes nude is trending, sometimes collectibles are trending, sometimes maybe apes are trending, and something like that. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, I would say, as an artist, you shouldn't restrict yourself to just one sort of style. A part of growing as an artist is to sort of explore different sort of aspects and different styles, and that's the only way you'll sort of start honing your own style. It's just exploring. But my sort of idea would be. I mean, even I've done that because I'm a sort of person that likes to sort of jump from one style to another, not because of any trends or anything, but it's just the way it's because I draw a lot with the mood I have. So sometimes I might have the mood I want to do something sci-fi, or I might have a mood that I want to do something a little bit more sort of traditional. But for any artist, I mean, I don't have an issue with people following trends as long as you put your own sort of style to it. It's not an issue. But my sort of advice is, have a few different collections. So, I mean, I've got a foundation account. Most of my foundation art now, I try to sort of keep it to sort of portrait style sort of art. And then I've got my open sea where I've got like a sort of a fantasy sort of series where I'll just do fantasy art on that. And then on the known origin now, I've started doing a lot of my black and white sort of art. So separating them is probably always a good idea, but I don't see an issue with trying different sort of styles and different themes. I don't think so is an issue, to be honest, at all. And with how things with NFTs go, I think you do have to adapt a little bit, but as long as you're using your own style, because some artists out there don't have any other jobs; they rely on just doing art, and that's their full-time job. So, if for some reason there's just not the available collectors that have interest in their art, I can't see an issue them trying something different as long as it's unique to them, just to get them through those sort of times. Because it's the sort of reality of modern sort of art. It does follow a lot of trends, but you have to try to stay unique to yourself.
Yeah, I see. So you just saying that people have to keep their styles, but about the story of their collections, it would be no limitation for that. Yeah, great point. Thank you for sharing. By the way, you were talking about community. Can you just give us a definition about community, and then you can just go on with how we should just make our community, build our community?
Sure. I mean, with community, the way I define it, it's one of those sort of places where, you know, you're there for each other, but there is no sort of burden on anyone that and expectations really. It's more about supporting each other the way any way you can. So if that's from just retweeting, liking someone's work, or giving them a positive comment or feedback, that's where it starts from. And then, you know, ideally, if you start liking a certain artist's art, you know, maybe, you know, take more interest in that, maybe support them if you want to, you know, collect a few pieces, or maybe find other collectors for them. But for the community side of things, where I see it, and it's you start small. It's no point running around trying to get attention from collectors or people that have been around for a while, because you know you can't blame them as well for not giving you the attention. Because as you get as you grow your account, as it gets bigger, you can get a lot of people that you know just want to sort of piggyback on you and try to get sales. So they're only interested in trying to further themselves by using your popularity. So then a lot of big accounts get a little bit sort of hesitant, and you know don't always start communicating with someone that's just starting to reply to their comments. Sometimes you've got to work on it, but you've got to have an actual sort of something in common with that person. And that genuinely can be seen the way you make conversations and when you talk about things. If it's genuine, that relationship will grow into something else and it will become a lot more bigger. But mainly, you need to sort of start from scratch, with a few different friends, especially people that you have interest in the same sort of style of art is always a way to start. And then maybe it's from where you are, where you live. Doing meetups is always good as well. Meeting people face to face always improves your relationship with people. And also doing these sort of spaces, like, you've got quite a few people in here at the moment. And as you guys keep doing spaces, you'll get to know each other more and you make connections. But for me, it's got to be a genuine connection. And I think, as time goes, there will be few people that are not genuine, and then you might, not realize until a while. But hey, we all make mistakes, but you have to give people a chance. But also, you always have to protect yourself. Only give as much as you can, and don't feel like you're in any debt to anyone that you have to give or buy art, because it's not just buying art. You're an artist. Artists sell art. They don't need to collect art. So it's just enjoying the art and talking about art and engaging is what you should be sort of more importantly doing in this space.
Yeah, that was awesome. And the point that you just mentioned, I think was so important that you should find some artists and maybe some collectors, I don't know, some people in the community with the same taste, because their support would be maybe the word, but maybe somehow it is more valuable, because you have the same taste, and you are just on the same ship, so you can go on the journey with each other. Yeah, so that's why you should find your style and find some people with the same style to build your community. And so we will and go to speakers after just this actually interview is going to finish. By the way, Marmar, do you want to add anything, or I just go on?
Just say hi to Uzzi. We were waiting for you for a long time, and
Hi.
I really happy. Hi there. I'm really happy to hear you. And after that, I want to say, uh, at the time you start to speaking, I was thinking I'm listening to Harry Potter movies, and that was my favorite. And I love your accent.
I take it's my
Oh my
English
God.
accent that reminds you of
Yeah,
Harry
I know.
Potter.
Yeah, I know, and it was really amazing, and it is actually. And after that, your art actually is really amazing. I followed you on Instagram too,
Oh, thank
and
you.
you're welcome anytime. And I really appreciate your kind words, your all of your explanation about art and your journey and all of those things. And that's all. Thank you all for being here. And it was really amazing space. Thank you,
Yeah,
Taria.
appreciate it. Thank you for having me
Mm.
also. It's been really nice spending time
But
with you
I have
people.
a lot of questions, Ozzy. Don't go, don't run. Actually, yeah,
Ask me.
there is a lot of questions there. I just wanted not to be the only person who's talking. So yeah. Okay. Let's go on. I want to ask you to talk about some mistakes. You mentioned that you had some mistakes. Please tell us about the regrets and maybe some mistakes that you had, and now you think people should be aware of them and not to do the same mistake.
Yeah, I think mistake-wise, there's a couple of things. I think I'll just try to go from top of my head what I remember from what sort of mistakes I made. I think first thing is to do with pricing. It's pricing your work, and making sure that it's sort of, if you're using different platforms, it makes kind of sense. So if you've got a one of one art, which is you're trying to sell for zero point 0.2, let's say ETH, and then say you're on OpenSea, you're doing a series editions. It's just making sure it's sort of the maths works, because if you're going to sell a series of two pieces, then you want to sell them at zero point 0.1 each, which kind of so your value doesn't drop and also keeps your collectors happy in their investment as well. Because you have to always keep in mind who your collectors are supporting you as well. Because if you start putting your prices too low than it is, then it kind of like, confuses your collectors of what you're trying to do. So that's very important. Let's see what else sort of mistakes. I think, especially, I think it's with the wallets and stuff, with like the crypto wallets. I didn't have any clue about that you can get hard wallets. I used to use my mobile phone and I used to use MetaMask. Obviously, I found out later that that can be quite unsafe, as people can sort of clone your SIMs and try to gain access many ways by sending you different links. And, luckily when I started, there was a few people getting hacked where they were being sent Google document links and they were clicking onto these links. And I started seeing these come up on Twitter a lot. And when I saw those, I started getting quite sort of like, I did panic, but then obviously I learned from others. So I was able to sort of keep myself protected. But I didn't have a hard wallet, and I had no idea what a hard wallet was. And eventually, I went and got myself a Ledger hard wallet, which means my seed is sort of safe on the actual wallet, and I have to use a combination password on that for me to authorize any sort of transaction. So it keeps my password, my seed phrase, separate from the laptop or the computer I'm using. And that was something that was very important. And obviously, when I didn't have that, I had to sort of start another account, start another wallet address, and it all got quite confused. And I had a few different accounts, but eventually I started learning more about how to use these wallets, and you can put your old address into your wallet as well. Um, but it was just a lot of trial and error. I think for people now, there's a lot more information out there that you can learn and grasp now. But when I started, there was very little. It was more having conversations with people is how I learned, really. So those are, I'd say, like sort of the main mistakes I made when I started off.
Wow, that was awesome. It's so simple. I'm really sorry to say that, but most people even don't Google their questions these days. I don't know why, but we have a lot of education, actually social medias like YouTube, that people they even if they want how to drink a water, there is a video there. You can't believe it. For drinking water, you can find a video in YouTube.
The next thing you're going to say is how to breathe oxygen will be the next one, which is automatic, but I'm sure some
Yeah,
people might need a lesson in that.
how to brush your teeth, everything. You can find everything there. So yeah, that's a compliment that I have, because they don't Google. And scammers these days just use fear, your greed, and after all, your rush. People don't check what they are approving on their wallets, and maybe they are just approving the wrong message because they cannot change those messages, but they don't check what they are approving. And yeah, that's how they get scammed, and sometimes from their greed, and after all, from their fear, they get scammed. Yeah, a very nice point.
Yeah, I think the simplest way to put it is if it's too good to be true, then it's not true. As always, remember that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Guys, please retweet the room so other people can join us and maybe ask some questions, use some experiences. So, you actually mentioned my second question about pricing, so we can just let it go. And I want you to talk about your visions about NFT market.
Sure. I mean, it's more to do with where I see it going in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think with the NFT market, it's it's always changing, and it's changing, and it's got to do with the trends, and also collectors have a big influence on the market. So you can have a major collector come in that has interest in a certain sort of style of art, like Pepe's, for instance, and then there was people making loads of Pepe art, and then you've got obviously collectibles, you've got one-of-one art, but at the moment, the way things are, I would say it's great now that we've had this little, you know, decline in sort of crypto and everything itself, because it gives us a chance to reset and start again, catch a bit of breath. For once that being here over a year, we've learned a lot from it, and we try to make changes. But you are getting you've got two kind of sort of people in this sort of NFT sort of space. You've got the collectors that love art, and then you've got investors, and people look at investment opportunities. And mainly, this is why collectibles have been doing so well. Um, as of one art, I think the secondary market has not had that sort of peak yet as you get with collectibles, but I think that will change, because I think with one art, it's something that's going to take time, because as time goes, whatever sort of NFTs you hold from other artists, they gain in value from what this artist does in the future to, how much they progress. So it's a long term, a very long term sort of thing. So if you are one artist and you worry about, I'm not making sales now and itself, you have to have in mind that this is something that could take some time for it to sort of evolve and be successful from. But I think from an artist point of view, I don't see any issue, um, you know, if you want to invest and do collectibles as well, because it goes with the trends, but obviously it's your money and you have to be careful and make sure you do your research. But I always say never buy anything with money that you really need. If you've got spare money, use it for investments like collectibles. But it's going to be forever adapting. So I think the new sort of side of NFTs is going to be the gaming side of things. So you've got a lot of mostly collectible projects that are going into the gaming side. Um, I've been sort of involved in one project that's sort of had a whole sort of game system that's connected to Minecraft. Um, and I think that's going to be the way forward. And I think pay to earn sort of games will be the sort of future. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of smarter apps that will come out in the future as well, or phone apps that will sort of link in where you can, earn sort of like crypto money from playing games as well. So I think that's kind of what I can see at the moment. Is this kind of trend that it's going to on the side of projects on NFT, but it's still waiting for people. It's waiting for people to become innovative. It's still wait. There's a space for people to come and try.
Just put the mute button. Sorry for that. Okay, go on, Uzzi. Sorry for that.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that was only for a little bit. Where did I finish up to?
Yeah, that was amazing. And for the last question from me, then we'll go on with the speakers. Do you have any secrets for marketing strategies or some advices for that to make some connections with people?
Yeah, so with marketing side of things, I would kind of advise people not to sort of, fall into the trap of influencers that try to offer you, you know, sort of like they'll give you a bit of exposure and you pay them, because you need to look at these sort of accounts, do your research. At the early stages, I used to be approached a lot by these accounts, but when you go in the accounts and you look at the accounts, a lot of them are like modelings, models and stuff, and it's nothing to do with crypto. So, paying money towards things like that, it really doesn't achieve anything. I think most of the time, what I found is sort of good advertising is Twitter is still the main sort of thing. If you can make a websites are quite appealing to people, but your Twitter pinned tweets is where you need to put your focus on. Put your best art on there. If you've got a new sort of new drop, make sure it's on your pinned tweet, because that's where people will go first to see what you're doing. As in getting engagement, I think, I mean, for me, I've only not known the hard way, and for me is, I just engage with people, and just say, but you have to try to enjoy it, not to tire yourself out, because if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not a chore. So if you keep looking at, I enjoy looking at different people's art, exploring, asking questions, and that it's just making connections. And as time goes, you know, the more you retweet each other's, you get more exposure. But I think a little tip that I'd say is if you are in Twitter chat groups, never send a link of your artwork on the chat group, because it really does mess the algorithm up. You are better asking the people in the group to go to your pin tweet and retweet it for you, and that does help with engagement a lot. And also, when you're tweeting, most times using links and tags, be very sort of careful that you're not using too many tags and links, because that could sort of waste your time, because the algorithm will just not show your work.
Wow, I didn't know that it is just messed up with the algorithm if we send our links to the groups. Yeah, that was amazing.
No, you're very welcome. It's something that I learned through time, and I've noticed that it really does help. Really does hinder your sort of engagement capacity. So yeah, just try to not send links in groups because then it kind of the algorithm sees it as like it's not a natural way of getting sort of engagement. So that's why they kind of like shadow ban you from that sort of thing.
Wow, I see that. Thank you. Thank you for the tips. Okay, guys, if you have anything to ask, if you want to maybe connect with Ozzy or anything that you want to mention, here is the stage. You can just come up and talk. Ashkan, Hunay, Mana, I think you just get right. I just invite you again. Mama, am I get right? Am I right?
No, dear.
Really?
No, Heidi, you are here. We can
Okay,
hear you.
everybody was silent.
I was talking, but my mic was off, so I think I was right. It was really hilarious.
Okay, go on. You can just go on with your.
No, I wasn't want to add anything. I just wait for hearing the other asks.
Okay, Mana. Hi, Mana.
Hi, Feria. Hi to Uzzi and hi to Marmar and hi to everybody, all my friends in the room.
Hello, Anna.
It's very nice to hear you here and thank you for all the useful tips and comments you told us. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed your talk. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Glad I haven't bored you guys at all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ozzy, have you been in NFT NYC? Or maybe Vican?
Oh, with the NFT NYC, no, I haven't been a part of it because I'm in the UK. It's quite an expensive flight to get to the UK, to New York. But I'll probably try to get involved in the London one when we get the London one started.
Oh, do we have a London event as well? When is it and how is it going on? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the dates yet, but I will be finding out. When I do, I'll make sure I put it on my Twitter. So keep an eye out. But we will have one in London. We did have one last year, but I couldn't make it. But I think there will be a kind of similar one to the New York one in London. So I'm looking forward to see if I can get a space to go and see people.
Oh, I see that because we had some events like the one was held in India, the one was held in Dubai, and the other one like Vican, and after all, New York City. And here we go. We have London as well. So interesting. I didn't know that, and it would be so great. So, guys, you can just follow Ozzy, and maybe in the future we can be a part of this lovely event. I'm so excited for that. Okay, everybody, if you don't have any questions, I don't know why everybody is so shy tonight. But if you don't have anything to ask or add, we can just wrap it up. And Ozzy, really thank you for giving this chance. I never had actually heard you in any spaces. So I think it was the first time that I heard you, and it was so great. I was really excited. And Harry Potter just came into my space tonight.
Well, no, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I haven't done many spaces. I used to do my own spaces and I used to invite artists and do small little interviews just to get to know them and give them a bit of exposure. I've just been really busy with personal life, but it is something that I'm interested to do again. So if I do some spaces, I'm happy for you guys to DM me and let me know if you would like to be a part of the space. Obviously, I'll check your art and I will choose a particular artist that I think would be of interest. But yeah, keep that space open for you guys. Hopefully, I could do
Oh,
more
that
artist
would be great.
interviews to help young artists. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually started these spaces from last week. Uh, a, a very big space because I get rugged easily, and that's why I just make it so short. But I really wanted to do something for the community because I see people have a lot of mistakes, and I myself as well. And I wanted to get some experiences and maybe some secrets and tips from people who were in the space, maybe more time, and they are just some inspiration, especially to me. That's why I just started such a spaces, and I would hold them on Saturdays and Wednesdays. And I have talked to a lot of people, so I think I just scheduled for my upcoming spaces as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Mana, do you want to say something?
Uh, yes, please. Actually, I have a question. If maybe, dear Orzi, you can comment on that
Cool.
regarding, the selection of arts, styles of our art that we want to share on different platforms. As you know, OpenSea has banned Iranian artists, so many of us, actually, as Iranian artists, can't use that. But recently, this is the question. The reason for this question is that recently I had some talks with several, Um, several experienced artists or collectors, and they had many different ideas regarding, that, for example, the type of for example, they told me that some of them told me that this a special type of art is not, um, appropriate for example, foundation. It should be only used for OpenSea. But the others told me no, it's okay. And regarding the pricing, for example, they told that there's a minimum for minimum actually price for the foundation, that if you, for example, go lower than that, the collectors will not be interested in buying on foundation such arts, even if the art is good, for example. Yes, I had some very different ideas from different people, so I just was confused, actually. And I just wanted to, if you have any tips on that, or do you think there are any special rules in this regards? Because for example, I searched the arts that were collected of my friends, different people, and there were so many varieties on them. I couldn't find a rule, actually, but just I wanted to know your idea on this topic, if it's possible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the honest sort of answer is there is no rules, but we all sort of try to abide by a certain rule or we make our rules. And I can only give you, like you said, my perspective of what I think works and what I think you should do with pricing. So there's two topics that I want to talk about. I'll get one part first, as you've said, you were talking about how, you know, Iran, a lot of people have been banned from certain social platforms, and like I believe Known Origins doing the same. So to protect yourself from that sort of thing, there are now smart contracts. I think it's manifolds, it's called, which you can start your own sort of smart contracts, and that keeps it safe so that if these sort of startup companies like, say, Foundation, like in a year or two, are not there, or Known Origins, like it's been bought by eBay now, and certain platforms don't. I mean, the statistics, they don't last over 5 years, so you've got to always be careful. Obviously, we had less knowledge before, but now we understand that it's probably best to move towards making your own sort of smart contracts, which means then it stays with you and you can move it to wherever you want and you don't lose your artwork. And also, if your collector buys from you, your collector feels a lot more safer buying from you, knowing that that art piece is not going to go anywhere, you know, they won't lose it. So on the side of that, it's probably, you know, really good idea to check manifolds. If you do have any issues finding that, I'll see if I can send some links later to you guys. And also, it's trying to make your own website, I'd say, is the next sort of part of it. It's like if you've got your own website, that will work as your own sort of platform. And maybe in the future, as you get to know more artists, maybe you can get together and have sort of like a collaborative sort of shop front for yourselves. And I think that's the future. That's where we need to move to, and not relying on these, you know, platforms which could just one day just say, you know, just disappear or sell to like Facebook and just go. Now, going back to your question about pricing, how you go about it, like I said, if, you know, the pricing structure's changed now, because so I've just recently just started, just today I minted on a Foundation. The market's very weak, not everybody's buying at the moment. So I decided, like, most of my art sells from about 0.25 to zero point 0.4 I've sold on Foundation. So I've got to work an even sort of idea and balance it out and say, you know, how much is it likely to sell? So the piece that I put in there is something that I put a lot of time in, and I felt like it's the best piece I've done so far. So because of how I felt, and it's the intrinsic value that I've given to my piece of art, I put the buy it now price as zero point 0.5, but I put the bid auction start reserve at zero point 0.1, and that's a risk I've taken to see if I can get a bid going and seeing what people's interests are. So sometimes you've got to work out and see, get an idea. So I will see how that the auction's actually started today. So I'm, you know, really glad, and I'll see where that goes. If that finishes, let's say at 0.2, 0.3, then I'll try to work out an average and an idea of what I would mark my reserve price the next time. And the same you do with editions. If you're going to do editions, if I'd try to say keep the editions low, maybe 5 or 10, and then work it out from what you normally would sell your main one of one art from, and then divide
I gotta
that
come here and
into
disagree with
editions.
you.
Sorry, was that someone asking me a question?
I said I gotta come in
Yeah,
here
go.
and disagree with you.
Oh, hello. How you doing, Jimmy?
Do I know you, sir?
Okay, let me. Jimmy, it is just a little different from other spaces. So please, let Ozzy go on because it is so important for me tonight. So if you want to do it maybe that way, respectfully, I have to just make you down as the listener. So we can just talk that way that you like, maybe another night. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Okay, Ozzy, go on. Sorry for that.
No, not a problem at all. Yeah, I hope I've kind of answered in regards to pricing. If Mana wants to maybe ask any more questions in regards to that, I'm happy to explain.
Thank you, actually, dear Uzzi. Thank you for all the information you explained. No, there's not any special question. Just for example, somebody told me if you want to price low on foundation, you shouldn't go lower than 0.07. For example, he told me that below that is not acceptable for collectors. Is there? Do you think is there something like that? Because of course,
Sure.
prices of foundation.
Sorry. Yeah. What I think what I'm in that area, it's a little bit more complex than that, and there's two sides to it. Because if you're just starting off as an artist and you're trying to grow and you're trying to get a bit of attention to your art, you're going to start at a bit of a lower price. And sometimes the best collectors at that stage when you've started is your peers, is the artists around you, because if they buy a piece or two, that's what gives you that sort of a little bit more exposure to other people, and it gains a bit of interest. And most artists that are around you that are started are not going to have a big pocket, so they're not going to be able to pay 0.3, 0.4 for something like that. So if you started at 0.1 or 0.7, and as long as you start at a certain point and you slowly build up, there's not an issue. But obviously you need to consider your minting price and everything else accordingly as well, so making sure you're not making a loss, and then you add value to what you're doing. So if you've been an artist that's been selling physical pieces outside before, then you need to put that into consideration as well, because you've already got a reputation. So there's no point you starting at a very low, but 0.7, I'd say, for me as a collector, if I want to take someone seriously, that they're here for the long term and they're not here just to for a cash grab, I'd look from 0.1 onwards. And then if I go to your account, I will check to see what you've sold the other pieces for. So if you've been selling, let's say, many of your art pieces for about 0.3, and then suddenly you're selling at 0.1, that's not an issue. That's up to you if you want to sell it for 0.1. And I need to understand the market trend and what's going on. So if it's a very difficult period of time, then I understand that you're going to lower your prices a bit so you can, get through that sort of time. But so no collector should dictate what you price it at. But obviously, you need to always value yourself itself. And I'd say, a healthy sort of is from 0.1 upwards. Any lower than that is additions, really. Additions sell for lower than that. If you've got additions, you can do it lower than 0.1. But you really want to start building from 0.1 and going higher in the future as you start making sales.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for all the info.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you for answering patiently, and thank you for joining us today and tonight. If anybody has anything to add, please add, and we are just going to wrap up.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, for sure. Go on. You're the co-host.
Question. Dear, I want to ask you, do you think after how many sales we can change our price actually? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I think if let's say you've sold 4 or 5 pieces for 0.1, and then you started feeling confident, but maybe I could sell it for a bit more. You can always try to increase it a little bit, and see if you're still getting a bid. And if it doesn't work, obviously you can reduce it back to the normal sort of price that you sell it at. But if there's a demand for your work, you can increase it whenever you feel that you've got that sort of confidence that people really want it. But you don't want to do it straight away. Sometimes you want to give it if you've got, let's say you've got a new project you've just started, you may want to sell the first 4 or 5 pieces until you change your price. I think if you just sell the first piece and then start changing it on the second piece or the third piece, it kind of seems like you're trying to run before you can walk, sort of thing. You need to be a little bit more patient with it. So, collectors can respect your sort of method of you trying to increase it, but you've got to do it at a nice pace, and not go, because if you go up too quickly, then your collector's base won't be able to afford it, or might not be ready or happy to spend that yet. So if they see that you've got a demand, they might think, yeah, actually I will pay 0.3 for it, because there's a lot more collectors buying still for that price. But it's testing it out yourself, but I wouldn't rush to move up. But if you've done about particular 4, 5, 6 pieces and you think, it's selling soon as you're actually releasing them, then it shows that there's a good demand, and then you probably can start increasing it by 0.5 each time.
Thanks, dear. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Okay, that was awesome. A lot of great tips and secrets, and a lot of great connections that we made tonight. And it was a really great pleasure and honor for me. Thank you. Thank you for joining me, and for being patient, and the audience that you were just listening to us. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're very most welcome. And I did enjoy this. I haven't done a space for a while. And like, if there's, if you do other spaces, do let me know. Obviously, I won't be able to come as a guest all the time, but I'm always happy to come and listen and share ideas if I have time. So, I'll keep an eye out when you are doing these and see if I can just come in and listen to you guys. And if I see anywhere I can sort of explain anything, I'm always happy to help out and get to know everyone here a bit better.
That would be amazing. It's a really great honor for me. Yeah, for sure. I will just let you know. But as I said, I mostly hold the spaces on Saturdays and Wednesdays. But yeah, I will let you know, and it would be a great pleasure. And if you started your spaces as well, count on me, because I want to be the first. Thank you, everybody. Thank
Well,
you.
brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. Hopefully I will speak to you guys soon. Have a great day.